Thank you, everyone, and welcome here for another healing story. Today we have Madelaine Gomes, and I'm really looking forward to hearing your story, how you got yourself out of the really dark spaces. And yeah, I'm just so excited. I'm so grateful that you made time for us here to share your story with us. Would you like to tell us a little bit just what your life looked like back then? Or maybe when you...
Thank you, Tanja, for having me and for giving me this opportunity to tell my story. It is actually so strange at the time when this is happening, when we are talking. I was thinking this morning, it is exact the time, pardon me, in 1999 when my journey started.
Oh, wow.
In September 1999, when I lost my husband. And I was a director of a top 10 company. So I always looked at like this confident, have-it-all person. And then he passed away in the most horrific way, which I won't go into now. But it pulled a rug from underneath me. My whole world collapsed immediately right there. And I went with the flow thereafter because I had to, pardon me, I had to survive and I had to carry on. I had this huge company. I had a son of 2 years old. We were waiting for him for 15 years. So my whole world was in topsy-turvy. So I preferred to ignore it at the time. And I just survived. And 9 months later, my body went into delayed shock, which I knew nothing about at the time. And I started to get ill. I started to lose my memory. I was driving one day. I just left my office and I hit a curb next to the road, but not a big, not an accident. And I was, pardon me, in a safe car. And I just stopped. And at that moment, when I hit the curb, I had no idea who I was. I couldn't remember my name. I couldn't remember where I live, what's going on. I just found the last number on my phone was my sister. And I said to her, I don't know what's going on, but I don't know how to get back to the office. I had a small accident, but I'm okay. There's nothing wrong. Anyway, so my office came to fetch me. My sister took me home and they thought I need a break. And I thought I need a break, but at that stage, I already had severe backache and I had a knob in my throat. I couldn't swallow food, and I went for scans and they didn't know what was wrong with me. They couldn't find anything in my throat or my back, although I was walking like this because the pain was quite severe. And I stayed in bed. So I was in bed for a while. And my body started to peel, my skin peeled, it was hanging down. I looked terrible. I put on 10 kgs and still couldn't remember anything. And then a girlfriend of mine rocked up one day at home to come and visit me. And I just didn't want to open the door. My son opened the door. And she came in and she knows me very well. And she said, Maddie, I need to take you to somebody. And if you don't come, I never want to see you again because I can't handle seeing you like this. I can't handle the pain that I feel when I look at you. And she took me to a homeopath, girlfriend of hers, and the homeopath gave me one look and started to cry. And I thought, why are they crying? I'm actually quite okay. I'm just tired. Anyway, and she said she can't help me, but I need to see her mother. Her mother's a spiritual healer. At that stage, I had no idea what is a spiritual healer or what they do, who they are, what it might be. So just because Julie said she doesn't want to see me after this if I don't do anything about myself, I thought, let me just stick to the plan. And we made an appointment for the next day, which the Saturday. And it's so amazing because the mother was actually only in my area for a visit. And she was flying back on the Monday and the weekend, not seeing any people anymore, so that she could spend time with her daughter. And she saw me on the Saturday and she started to cry. And I said, why are you all crying when you see me? And she said, I emanate such an energy of sadness that just by looking at me, they feel so sad. And I said, I don't feel sad. I'm fine. She said, you're actually not. You are in a mess. And she started to talk to me, and she started to speak to my husband at that time, which she could see standing next to me. And she said to him, you need to lift your hand off her back because you're hurting her. And that is where my backache came from, because he was obviously with me, seeing I'm not coping, and he had his hand on my back. And the knob in my throat turned out to be tears that's never been cried.
Yes.
And they were just there. I couldn't speak, I couldn't do anything. That was my start of my spiritual journey. And it was my first meet up with a spiritual teacher, healer, most amazing person, because she put me on my path for the future, And
but it's so common too. I just want to say it's for people, it is so common that even in those really extreme moments of, like, you'd think you would have an extreme grief, but you're kind of so disconnected that other people see the grief in you, but you can't actually feel it. There's no felt sense. And that is very common for people to have that, to be so disconnected.
Yes. And I'm a healer. I'm a pranic healer. So I've learned now what the underlying pattern of that is. I grew up in a house where I couldn't really show my feelings, my emotions. So the programming of me was, you the strong one, you there for everybody, you always make sure everybody's okay, you cook, you do this, you do that. So you're not used to actually tap into or allow even your own feelings. And I must say it's a journey, because I still battle with that from time to time, to come out of that. I need to be strong. I can't show my vulnerability. I see it as a weakness because that's how I grew up. And it nearly killed me, because my health still deteriorated thereafter. My business was starting to do fantastically well, but my health was going still slightly downwards. She still sort of stabilized my emotional side of it and got me back into one piece again, because I was everywhere, into pieces. And I also suffered from shock, and so on and so on. So I think it was about 2 or 3 years thereafter, because I lost track with time at that time because of my memory that lost me. It started to come back, but then I blocked out a lot of stuff that I could not remember. Anyway, I got sick on a regular basis with my chest. I had chest infections, and my chest has always been the weak spot in me. And then I got pleurisy, and I got into bed, and I refused to go to the hospital. And my mom and my sister was making turns to look after me. And I just said, there's no way I go to. Everybody knows me. I don't go to a hospital or a doctor for that matter. But I did go to the doctor, and I did get antibiotics, and I did get into bed. I was really sick. It was like within 2 days, I started to feel chesty, and then bronchitis. And the very next day, I had pleurisy, water on my lungs. So sick. Wow. Anyway, so I was in bed, and I kept on saying, just leave me, I'm tired, I need the rest, and my body will heal. And my mom and my sister obviously were very concerned, but they respected my wishes. I didn't know that at this stage of my life they decided the next day that they're going to take me to the doctor and to the hospital, because I got worse. But that night, I had my husband coming through, and he came to call me, and he said, come with me. So I went with him, and I went through the tunnel, and I had a near-death experience. So I went through the tunnel, and I went to the other side of the tunnel, and I saw everything on the other side. And I spoke to him. I had a long conversation with him, and he kept on saying, come, follow me, follow me, follow me. And as I got to the other side and I saw what it looked like, and it was so peaceful and beautiful, I heard my son saying, Mommy, I'm hungry. And if you know, my son is always hungry, always eating, loves his food. And he was only like 3 or 4 at that stage, you know. And I said to my husband at that moment, I said, you never ever come and call me again when it's not my time. Never. I will from here on make my own decisions. You do not make a decision for me. And I turned around and I went back into the tunnel and back into my body. And it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I got up and I walked through the house, and all I know is I was hungry. And my sister was sleeping that night in the house looking after me. It's quite a sizable place. And she said she just heard I'm walking, and she thought I'm walking in my sleep. So she's following me because she doesn't want to talk to me. She didn't know how to wake me up without scaring me. And we got to the kitchen, and then she said, now she needs to stop this, because what am I going to do in the kitchen, you know, in my sleep? So she said, can I help you? Can I do something for you? What are you doing? And I said, I'm starving. I need tea and toast. And that's when she realized something happened to me, that there's something that shifted. And we started to talk, and I said to her, well, this is what I just experienced, you know, and I'm fine. And I didn't know how sick I really was. They could only tell me afterwards, you know, that how sick I really was by the time my husband fetched me. But that was the last of my chest infections. I've never really had a bad chest infection thereafter again. And that, the whole experience that I've just been telling you for, that happened over a couple of years, catapulted me into a situation where I said, who am I? You know, I'm not the director anymore. I am not, who am I? I've always been looking after other people. I've always been who they wanted me to be. Who am I at the end of the day? I didn't realize at that time that the who am I is such a powerful question. That once you ask that question, your life's never the same again. Never. And that started my spiritual journey. I see the light coming in, and it's like on my forehead here.
It is right there, isn't it? I think it's kind of beautiful.
It won't leave me. Anyway, there, that's better. And that started my journey. And then I said, I need to know, because I remember my childhood, not my childhood, but my child me, my inner child. Yes. And my inner child in childhood always saw me as a healer, a teacher, helping humanity. I know that I came into this world, and I remember this before I was born, that I know that I made a pact that there's going to be a shift, and I'm going to be the tool in the shift to help people. I have no idea what it means or, you know, what it's about, but I do remember that. And I do remember that before I came into this world, that I saw me holding a lamb and with a white robe on, holding a lamb. That I remember clearly. So that came up to me, and I said, who am I? Because obviously who I am is not who am I.
Yes.
And I started to study alternative healing. I started to study holistic practices. I end up starting to study Pranic healing, which is from India. And then one night I sat and I said, you know, I really need to know more. I need to know who am I? And I was obsessed with this question. I was searching on the internet more information and so on. Although I worked all day, at night I went to a college in my area, and I studied all these holistic therapies at night till 11. I only got home, and then the next day it's back to work, you know. And I was addicted to it for about 6 months. And then one night I sat and I was also searching to learn more. And the next thing, metaphysical science came up on my computer, and I didn't even know what it means. Never heard the word before. And I looked into it and I thought, but this is who I am. This is exactly who I am, who I've always been in my heart. And what they say about it, I know already.
I was just
it's
going
not
to say
new
you don't
information to me.
Yeah.
And
You
then
don't
I
study.
had my own.
Oh, sorry.
No problem.
Oh.
I had my own library, and all my books at home was metaphysical science, but I didn't know it. It's never been labeled to me. So I looked into that, and I knew I arrived. I knew this is who I am. So that's how I started to study metaphysical science. Didn't plan to become a doctor at all. I just wanted to know more.
Yes.
And then I did my bachelor and my master's. And then they wrote to me and they said, it's a thesis and you're a doctor and you're doing so well. And I said, I can't write. And the lady said, you wrote 2 theses already and exams. Now you want to tell me you can't write. How is this even possible? And I don't know where that came from. And I just said, okay, I'll try. And then I had a writer's block because I can't write. I don't know, just came in the works here. My late husband used to tell me, you can't write. And he wrote all my letters. So I think it's the block that it caused is I can't do a doctorate, can't write.
It's
and
interesting,
then,
isn't it? How when it's something like this, I think, I don't know if it's in all countries, but in Australia, because when I did my PhD, they also told me that is about only 20%, I think. It's around the 20 or 25% of people who start a PhD finish. It's very small.
Yes.
There's this big,
isn't it funny?
Writing a thesis. Because it's
such a simple thing, you're almost there and you've got already all the knowledge. But I just believed that I can't write, and I wrote all the other stuff. But be it as it may, then I procrastinate. Then they wrote to me and they said, it's in Sedona, the university's in Sedona, Metaphysical University in Sedona. And they said, we've got a graduation in 2010. This was at the end of 2009. We've got a graduation in Sedona in October 2010. If you write your doctorate and you pass, then we would like you to join us for the graduation in Sedona. But you have 3 months to do that, because that's the time we need for you to write, for the board to sit, to read. Everybody on the board needs to read it and to ask the questions and to do what they need to do. It's going to take 3 months. So it's actually, you have a month, because we still have a lot of work before the cutoff time. And, and obviously I need to plan my trips and everything if I want to go. So I looked at this and I thought about it for a day or two. And then I thought, I want to go to Sedona. I do want to be there at the graduation. I want to be at the university. And I also want to travel. I love travel, and I used to travel a lot at that stage. Anyway, so I said, okay, I'll do it. But it didn't happen like that. It still took time. And then one night, I went to bed at 8. It was rainy. It was a Friday night. I will never forget it. I woke up at 10. And when I woke up, I felt like I slept 24 hours. I thought it's the next day. So I got up, refreshed. Didn't know I only slept 2 hours. I'm under the impressions next day. I went to the kitchen, made coffee, and I looked at the clock and I thought, what happened to me? This is 2 hours. And the next minute, I had this in-pour of showing me exactly what I need to write and how to do it. And I went and I sat down with my coffee and I started to write exactly what they showed me. Also the books that I need to do my research in was right there. Everything was guided and showed to me.
Yeah.
And I sat down, and that Monday morning, my thesis was done. It was finished.
Wow.
So, yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. It was an amazing journey. Look, it affected my life for a long time thereafter. This is just a short of the story and the more motivational side of it. I had quite a journey of the dark night of my soul, where I literally could feel how my soul's leaving my body. And I felt, I don't know if I'm going to make this, I didn't belong anywhere. I didn't fit in anywhere. There was so much going on. And honestly, it's only recently that I can say I merged with my soul again.
Yeah.
It affected me for a very, very long time. It affected my relationships. It affected who I am in total.
Yeah.
It was a very hard journey to walk.
Yeah. And I think that's the important, but it's a journey. There was no quick fix for you on the way. Is that you were very open-minded. You explored different things. For you, the spiritual path kind of felt aligned. Might not be for everyone, but it just did have that openness and being curious. Maybe that is something that I haven't explored yet. Like you saw a healer or a naturopath, or all these kind of things that are available for us to explore. And it's so interesting because it's like you said, you grew up and you weren't that in tune with your emotions. You couldn't show emotions. You became a director of a company. And again, directors are, I shouldn't stereotype, but often you really have to hold your emotions together. You've got to run a company. You have employees, so you've got to be very emotionally held together again, isn't it? It's just like,
yes.
And you have that position, and then to go out and do something really different. It's beautiful. It takes so much courage, doesn't it? Yeah.
Thank you. I also believe, I have a big talk coming up about purpose. The guy actually asked me to speak about purpose, and it's amazing how people are getting guided to me at the moment. That's not only awakening something in me that needs to happen now for humanity, that light that I saw before I was born. So people are getting put on my path at the moment, and each one of them is like a switch to switch that light on more and more, because you can't see your own abilities, you can't see your own brilliance. We're not programmed to do that. So it's hard for people to see their potential. I can see people's potential. I can see people's energy field. I can see their soul, but they can't do that. And I can't see my own. So, and it's all looking back now. We can only connect the dots afterwards. So if anyone goes through a very hard time, this is really what I want to say from the bottom of my heart, is go through it. Don't camp. Only camp in the desert, but don't stay. Don't build your permanency or make huge decisions while you're in the desert.
Yes.
Because the desert is only there for you to find you. Because we die many times in our lifetime while we're alive, and we get a rebirth again. And we're not the same as before. Even when I look at photos of me, I don't even look the same. So you can only take the wisdom from that period. And that's what the desert is for, is take the wisdom that you've gained from your experiences and start to merge that into the future, not the pain. So looking back, it was all guiding me towards my purpose. And that is, then when you look at it that way, you say, oh, it's amazing. I understand. Because you don't look at the pain anymore. You don't look at the experience, the trauma anymore. You understand that the journey has a better ending than what you felt when you were in this desert of despair, of destruction. Because it literally, some of these traumas, it takes you apart. And, you cannot say one person's trauma is more or worse than the other person. We all experience the pain. Doesn't matter what it is. We all experience the dark night of our soul when our whole life disappears in front of us, spiritually, emotionally, financially, in every way. Your life literally falls away. And you sit there and you think, who am I? I don't bloody know. Where do I fit in? Who I am? What do I need to do? And I can honestly say that this happened to me 3 times, because that was the start of getting me on the path to my purpose. And then I had 2 other experiences which is the same, not as traumatic. One was traumatic, but the other is just, I see the others as just guiding. It's like somebody's taking you gently and it's like, no, not there. And you go, your conditional thinking is going, no, I need to go there. You know, I think there, that's where I belong because that's what I know. And this, I would say God's whispers is going, no, there. So I've learned to surrender and to be in my heart space and expand my heart so that I can feel it and see it and not in my mind, because my mind corrupts me and what I do. My mind's very strongly programmed in a different way. And if I can say to people, just keep on going. Don't camp too long in the desert. Just keep your momentum going. Don't sit. And that's what I did. At the second experience I had, I sat. I was cross with God. I was cross with the world. I was cross with everyone. How can this happen again?
Yes.
And I was this
it's so unfair. Yeah. I hear you. I've worked so hard to get there, and now you're setting me back again.
Again, how the heck, there's no God, you know. And I went through all of that. I was mad as hell for 7 years. 7 years. But I laugh now, but it was most profound, because in those 7 years where I've been, and the experiences I had is even more profound than the first one of getting me back on my guidance and my journey. It was just the experiences and the messages and the supernatural experiences that guiding me back was just absolutely out of this world. So I'm back where I should be. And I believe I'm in my last transition period for where I need to be. I can feel it, you know, I know it and I can feel it. But this is unfortunately a journey where you can only connect the dots back, not forward.
But since you are very spiritual, because I know this sometimes gets quite misinterpreted, but I'm just curious whether you would agree with that, like that phrase. I don't even know where that came from, but I heard that once, that someone said, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. And I'm not talking about childhood abuse now, like just in adulthood, when you're making decisions and stuff, that things don't happen to you, they happen for you because you're off path. Like when I was working still in the lab, things were happening for me. Like I got my Meniere's disease, I got really sick. So that wasn't what I was meant to do. I was redirecting. I was just curious how you see that. Because you had a lot of traumatic things and hard things happening in your adult life as well. And
in my childhood and my adult life, I see it. I don't know. It does happen for you, but it also happens to you to happen for you. You know, I don't think we can take the two away and separate them. It does happen to you. And that's when people feel, when you say to them, but it happens through you, that you're not recognizing their pain and that you don't understand the journey. It happens to you, but at the end of that happening, there's a silver lining at the end. And what I teach is, I have a beautiful spiritual program called Kainos. It means renew. And it actually was given to me through my second dark night of the soul. My company got targeted by a crime syndicate. And the long story short is, I had to close my business and take my son and just move for the safety of the two of us. So I lost everything. I lost my financial security. I lost my business. I had to close. I had to leave my home like that with furniture and all and just move. And that was my hardest loss, because it just took the financial stability away from me. But be it as it may, that caused 7 years of the dark night of my soul. So if people had to say to me when I was in it that life happens through you, I would not appreciate it, because I was in pain. I was in turmoil of anger and resentment. Lost my brother, lost my husband, now I lost my business. My whole life I've lost. And then last year, the last bits of my possessions that I had from my past that was in storage got burned down in the looting. But I'll handle the looting different from the other losses. And this is where the life happens for you. And this is where it comes in. If I didn't experience the other losses and the anger and what I felt, I would feel the anger, the first time anger, probably with the looting. But when the looting happened, I said to myself, what is God telling me? Yeah. This is the end of the past, because everything in there was the past, all that special to me, and my certificates and everything else that I really, most of it I can't replace. Is what is the message here? This is the end of a painful journey. There's nothing left. Now I've got a clean slate. I can actually design my life the way I want with the wisdom that I've gained on my path.
Yes. Beautiful.
So when life happens for you, it is when you use the wisdom that came through your pain, and it happens again. You see the situation differently. You react differently because you utilize your higher consciousness that's been awakened now and more mature to handle the situation in a different way. That's when I think they can rightly so say, but not when you're in it.
No, it's kind of a retrospect thing, isn't it? You're looking back, this is the message, this was the learning.
Yes.
This on board. Now moving forward, it's going to help me.
Yes, but you don't even know it's going to help you until you get another situation. And then you look at it differently and you manage it differently, and then you think, oh, I did it differently this time. So I'm okay. You know, you can see that I look at my mom, her stuff was in storage as well. And she's angry, and and she's going to die with that anger in her.
Yes.
So it's that level of where are we on our consciousness level, and how is the past serving us? So that's when I've been in it, but now how's it working for me? How it's working for me is the wisdom that you've gained to manage it in the future.
So true. I think it's with each one you get a different pair of glasses or a different lens to see the world through, the people in, and yourself too. Like with each thing that happens, with each shift, it changes the perspective of everything, doesn't it?
Yes.
And
at the moment, life is changing fast, you know, because the energy of the earth speed up. So everything's happening faster, and we are evolving at a faster rate as well. I can see it in myself, you know, from last year, from the looting, it's exactly a year. In July, it was a year. When I went through it, I was angry because I got there, the place is burned down, the ashes are lying there, the smoke is still everywhere. And I said, please, can I just go upstairs to my storage and see if my certificates are there? And they say, no, nobody can enter the building. It's too dangerous, you know. And I said, but I'm prepared to take the risk. No, you can't. So I had to stand here, not even go close to it, and just accept the fact that mine's gone when I had a feeling it's not all gone. And it is just, you know, that was it. And I cried, I was angry. We were in danger for 3-4 days, which added to the anger. And then when I came out of it, very quickly, I snapped out of it. And very quickly, I sat there, probably 2 weeks that I was in this turmoil, where before it would be a year, if not longer. And I just said, okay, I surrender. Show me, where do I go from here? Because now I've got nothing. And my message was, I need to come back to Cape Town, because I was in Durban, close to my mum for a year, to be with her. And that didn't fully work out. And then I moved into a small cottage, and that's why my stuff was in storage. And then I got a message, I need to come back to Cape Town. And when I came back, I followed it. And as I followed the prompts, within 2 days, I got a truck to move me back, which was quite amazing how that happened. And within 4 days, I was on my way without planning it properly or anything. It just following the prompts, and it was just opening the path for me. And it was quite amazing how that happened. And it's giving me the opportunity for a total clean start. So yeah, we need to know, we need to just remind ourselves that this is life and these things happen in life. That's, you know, I see we're in a classroom called Earth.
Yeah.
And we're students until we die. We come in here with nothing, but we leave, we have a choice what we take with us when we leave. Do we leave this earth with resentment, bitterness, hate, your dreams still locked up in your chest, in your heart? Or do we leave this earth looking back and say, wow, I had a rough ride, but look what I've done and look what I achieved.
Beautiful. That's a beautiful message to end. Thank you so much, Madelaine, for this. I didn't check or confirm with you before, but do you mind if people reach out to you? Maybe we can put, are you on Facebook? Maybe we put your Facebook links down below. So if people do resonate with your story, or if they want to have some questions or connect with you,
I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love to.
Yes.
I am in a transition period where a bit, as I told you, this is the last one, because as you can see, my journey is showing and pointing to one way. I cannot get away from that, you know. So I'm in the time where I'm going into, in fact, after our interview, I'm going to see somebody for rooms into my healing and spiritual teachings.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Permanently.
Beautiful.
So everything's pointing at that, and that is what I need to do. So I would love for you to take my information down, and if there's anyone that would like to speak to me, they're more than welcome.
Especially people who are on that spiritual path. And if you go into the teaching, yes, look, so all this will be down below this video in the description, so that the links.
Wonderful.
And send me them after. So thank you so much for the time today. It was a beautiful share. It was well, I actually had goosebumps a few times throughout. It's like, it was just, it was very emotional. There was very, difficult times, but just the way you turned them around and shared that with us, it was, beautiful. So great.
Well, thank you, Tanja, for the opportunity to share my story.
Thank you.
And I believe lots of people are in the dark night of their soul at the moment, because we've just gone through a traumatic, collective dark night of our soul in businesses and in life. And, people need to hear that there's hope, that there's a path that leads to another path.
Yes, beautiful. So thank you everyone. And
thank you so much.